Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another episode. My name is Hamza. Thank you so much for joining us. It's truly a privilege to be here. If you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe, like, and share. We would like to hear from you. We would like to know what you think. We would like to know how this content influences your business or your lives. And today is the third in our series talking about healthcare leadership in Africa. And today we are going to be talking about the DSO model or the MSO model, which is dental support organizations and medical support organization models that we have. And I currently work in a DSO setting. And the question I mostly ask myself is that what can private hospitals in Africa learn from this model, or what advantages this actually brings? And I really want to tell you about two conversations that I've had. One conversation was with a clinician in Accra. This clinician has, in the last 12 years, built his clinic chains to about 4 locations. He's doing well for himself, but he spends 60% of his time doing things that has nothing to do with medicine. He has to do a lot of supply negotiations. He has to be involved in staff recruitments. There are staff disputes that he has to be involved in, billing issues that he has to follow up on. And he's just trying to get a bank loan for a fake location with 4 years of an audited financials that no commercial lender will touch because he doesn't have the right information. So this was the problem he brought to me. Like, how can he navigate this? How can I help? The second conversation was with a private equity person, and this person's in London, and I've known him for a while, and he is actively evaluating African healthcare hospital group acquisitions. She told me that the single biggest challenge they face when they're evaluating healthcare facility assets is inability to verify financial performance across multiple sites. So the facilities are there, they seem to be doing well, but they cannot objectively verify financial performance across this sites because the data does not exist in a reliable, standardized form. So what she actually said was, we cannot price what we cannot verify. Now, these are two different conversations, but the same root problem. One physician who has built something real and cannot scale it, one investor with capital and cannot deploy it. And sitting in the middle is this gap, is this gap in an idea that has transformed healthcare mostly in America, and I work in a similar setting, and I believe there's serious potential to transform private healthcare in Africa. This is what I'm talking about. Now, what is this model? What's the DSO or the MSO model? And I spent most of my professional life inside the DSO, at least my professional life in the US, and I mostly run operations across multiple offices. The dental support organization is just a management company that provides non-clinical business support services to a group of dental practices, right? And the practices retain clinical autonomy. The dentist or physician will still make all the clinical decisions. They lead the practice clinically. But the business infrastructure, which is from human resources, from billing to accounting, all those other functions, marketing, procurement, technology, finance, compliance, all those are centralized and they are managed by one entity. And the economic logic is just elegant. A single dental practice paying full market rate for billing software, HR management, supply procurement, and marketing. And a group of 50 practices sharing those costs in a dramatically more efficient way. So you are now not going to be that physician who is struggling to take all that cost by yourself, but you have all these groups that have come together and they are helping you take care of those. And according to the American Dental Association 2024 market analysis, the DSO affiliated practices now account for 35% of all dental practice revenue in the United States, up from less than 10% in 2010. And the model has grown from a niche experiment to a dominant organization formed in the US private dentistry in under 15 years. Now the question is, I want to spend this episode really answering is that what transfers from that model to African private healthcare? And equally important, what does not, right? So let's look at that. Let's look at what transfers first. Because when we first look at what transfers, the list is longer than most people would expect. Number one, centralized financial management and reporting. And this is, in my view, the single highest value transfer. So that physician Accra that I spoke about in the beginning, I described in my opening, has 4 clinics. And a healthcare support organization model centralizes all of those non-clinical duties, because now you have one place where you do all the accounting, not 4 different accountants in 4 different locations. You have one revenue cycle team. Instead of 4 different people doing your billing, you have 1-2 people who share the responsibility. One monthly financial report that tells the physician on exactly what is happening across all 4 locations, what each site's revenue is, what each site's collection rate is, what adjusted production is, what the gaps are. For a private hospital group in Africa looking to attract investment, this alone is transformative. So you go from being uninvestable because your numbers cannot be verified to being fundable because your data is clean, is consistent, and is auditable. Number 2, centralized procurement. And this is one of the straightforward but powerful ones. And a group of 5 hospitals buying pharmaceutical supplies individually has almost no negotiating power. But when you have all these hospitals coming together, can you imagine what would happen? Because now you are going forward as one company to negotiate some of these prices. Number 3, human resource infrastructure. Staff turnover is one of the top 3 operational challenges for private health facilities in Africa. And a significant part of turnover problem is that individual facilities often cannot offer competing benefits structures, clear career advancements, and professional development programs. A centralized HR infrastructure across groups changes that equation, and that's something we need to look at. 4, compliance and credentialing management. This is huge for most hospitals, and you have to look at that. Number 5, technology and data infrastructure. And this is where the model meets the AI conversation from our last episode. A centralized healthcare support organization can justify and obviously afford an enterprise electronic health record system, a revenue cycle management platform, and eventually AI-enhanced operational tools, because these costs are spread across multiple facilities. The individual clinic in Kumasi cannot justify that technology spend at all. But a group of 8 clinics centrally managed absolutely can. And where is the translation breaks down is what we need to look at. The first thing is regulatory environment, because in the United States, the DSO model has navigated specific legal framework and the corporate practice of medicine doctrine, which in most states prohibits a non-physician owned entity from employing physicians and directing clinical decisions. DSOs solve this through careful structured management service agreements, and they've set it up such that these DSOs do not own the facilities, but they have clinicians who own these facilities at that level and are able to provide these services. And when you look at this in the context, DSOs solve and let me put it this way: most healthcare organization structure is built in so when you think about building this in an African country, the legal architecture has to be country specific. Okay, so you have to be able to look at what works in Ghana compared to what works in Nigeria compared to what works in Kenya. The second thing that cannot be transferred is capital markets immaturity. And the DSO model in the United States has largely accelerated by private equity. Firms that saw the fragmented market, a proven business model, and an opportunity to consolidate and create scale. That capital market sophistication exists in Africa in a concentrated pocket. We have Nairobi, we have Lagos, we have Accra, we have Johannesburg. But the deal sizes, the diligence infrastructure, and the exit pathways are all less developed. This does not make the model impossible. It makes it slower. It makes the financing structure more complex. The third thing that you need to look at is the cultural dimension of clinical autonomy. In the US dental market, a generation of dentists who built private practices and then sold them to DSOs had a financial incentive, liquidity, that made giving up some operational autonomy acceptable. In Africa private healthcare market, many facility owners are founder physician entrepreneurs for whom the practice is not just an investment, it's an identity. conversation about joining a healthcare support organization structure is not primarily a financial conversation. It's a deeply personal one about legacy, control, and trust. Healthcare support organizations developers in Africa need to be sophisticated about a cultural reality, or they will generate resistance that no amount of financial engineering can overcome. The fourth one, data equity, data quality as a foundation, and I keep coming back to this. The DSO model's economic value ultimately built on data, on the ability to see across multiple locations, identify operational variances, benchmark performances, and intervene with precision. If your data is bad, the model doesn't work. So what to do? What do you do? First, get your financial data clean. That's the first thing you do. Before you approach any investor, any consolidator, or any partnership, engage a health-specific accountant and build a consistent multi-site financial reporting structure. Secondly, identify your non-clinical administrative burden honestly. How much of your time and your management team's time is spent on functions that have nothing to do with patient care? Thirdly, consider building before being acquired. You do not have to wait for a private equity firm to build a health support organization structure. You can build it yourself across your own facilities. And some of the most successful African healthcare groups are founder-led consolidators who built the operational infrastructure first, proved the model works, and then attracted outside capital from the position of demonstrated performance. And fourth, look for the right partner, not just any partner. If you are considering joining a healthcare support organization structure, or if you are considering selling a stake to a capital partner, understand that operational culture and clinical values must and always must align. So in conclusion, the DSO model will not come to American healthcare, will not come, it did not come from the American healthcare because it was perfect fit. It came because it solved a real problem, and this is something that we need to look at. And it will not translate identically. It will require country-specific legal architecture, cultural intelligent partnership structures, and a serious commitment to data infrastructure. But the opportunity is here, and the African healthcare entrepreneur who builds the first truly scalable healthcare support organization models on the continent will not just build valuable companies, they will be leaders in the market. They will change how healthcare is delivered for millions of people. This is another very exciting episode, and I thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and I will see you in our next episode.
White coat, black notes, I plan like a surgeon.